Hello and welcome to our tips and tactics episode on near point defence. It isn't the most glamorous of roles in tournament PvP, but it's one of the most important. You're the backbone of your team, supporting the constant gain of points on the board and allowing the rest of your team to perform the roles to the best of their ability. While it may be boring waiting for people to come to you, you know every fight you have is vital towards your team's victory. In this episode, we're going to look at what goes into a near point defence build, some tips for controlling point and map specifics. Also linked some past content which will be really useful, and I'll point that stuff out as we go through the episode. So first I wanted to talk about what makes up a build for near point defending, and there are a number of different professional options you can choose, but the goals are always going to be the following. First of all, you want to be able to win 1v1s. This means you need to be able to defeat the enemy team's farpoint attacker. It doesn't need to be quick, but you don't want to be losing the 1v1 encounters. You also need to be able to beat him if he does take control of the point, and knockbacks and crowd control are vital here. Secondly, you need to be able to survive in a 2v1. You don't have to win it, but you need to be able to stay alive and stay on point long enough for your roamer to come and support you and clean up the enemies. High boon uptime on stability, protection, regeneration, vigour and swiftness is common in most of these builds. Map specific changes can be made, but I'll talk more about that later. All this comes together to leave you with a build with high survivability and steady outputting damage. Good crowd control and boon uptime and particular stability are also a major part. I've created some builds below, so if you're interested, check those out. They're not perfect, but you can have a little play about and see what works best for you. Now onto the basics of defending a point. Put simply, you want to keep your feet on the point while keeping your enemy off of it. Knockbacks can help a lot with this, but don't be too frivolous with them. Use them to counter a neutralisation or interrupt important skills. Beware of skills that contain a self knockback however, as this can put you in a really tough position on certain points such as Legacy of the Foefire. Many knockbacks have a small radius, so check out the description of the skill, as this means you can catch multiple opponents in one single hit. As I mentioned, interrupting can be really helpful, especially in those 1v1s. You won't be able to dish out a huge amount of damage at all, so interrupting a heal is priority when you have them close to being downed. You can also use this to mitigate damage or avoid bursts. Interrupt skills include fear, knockbacks, knockdowns, blowouts, dazes and stuns. Keeping yourself on point comes down to a few boons and skills. Stability is the most basic of these, as it makes you immune to crowd control abilities, however there are some other important skills. Damage mitigation controls a fight. Protection, regeneration and weakness are very helpful with this, and they can give a passive edge to all your active abilities. Many players try to chain knockbacks with an immobilization to give them a chance to neutralise the point. Stun breakers can get you out of this situation and get you back on the point quickly. Swiftness uptime can be of use too, to run back on the point faster, or you can use a leap skill to do the same. Dodging is used to move faster and get yourself back on point, avoiding any further CC while you're doing it. It can also be used to mitigate damage, which is its main role. Vigour helps in both these situations, as well as energy runes in your weapons. Now, on different maps you might have a slightly different job to perform. While your central role will always be controlling the point, the secondary objective of each map also has an effect. On Niflhel, it's likely you'll need to kill the boss on your side of the map. Bear this in mind when you create your build. Certain team setups might say this is the role of the roamer, but if the roamer is needed on the other side of the map, it may fall to you to bring down the boss before it's stolen. Linked below is a video I released discussing the bosses on Niflhel. We also looked at how to beat them and how to not have yours stolen. I've also linked two videos released earlier in the season looking at the capture points on Niflhel in detail. You can see some really interesting characteristics on them, and when we enter season 2 early in the new year, we're going to have even more content looking at different capture points on different maps. Legacy of the Foefire brings with it its own challenges. You can suffer some serious pressure from multiple opponents on this map, and because of the way control points are constructed, knockbacks and stability can play a major role. You're also the gatekeeper to one entrance to your base, so slowing down the enemy at your capture point can be really important if they're trying to push past you towards the gate. Build highly for survivability and crowd control for this map, with fighting more than one opponent in mind. Killing power takes a step back because the roamers should be able to come and assist you quickly to finish off the fight. Communication early is really important here though, as 3v1s are not uncommon. Lastly, Kylo. Kylo requires some really high HP. The trebuchet on this map can dish out a massive amount of damage, and when you're fighting another opponent that can really hurt. Watching the skies when you hear the trebuchet called out means you can dodge it, but it's not easy to do while you're in combat. Good communication with your trebuchet user can also be a lifesaver. If you've got a number of opponents incoming, they can quickly dispatch them or scare them away. Again, on this map, survivability is the main part of the build, as the trebuchet can make up for your lack of damage if you need it. You don't want to be getting killed by their treb either. So don't forget to check out those links below for more helpful information. Next week we're going to be taking a look at the holy grail up to the tournament match, controlling that middle point. So don't forget to subscribe for that and more future content when we enter Season 2 in the new year.